Well, hello once again. Yes, it's me, Leonard Wells, broadcasting as usual and as ever from Haslingden, north of Manchester in the UK, on Wednesday the 30th of November 2011. I want to talk today about the price of gas and reflect upon it. Today I discovered that the company that supplies my gas and electricity, it's called N-Power, strange name, N-Power, N and then Power, all connected together. They decided to double my monthly payments to £82 a month just for gas for a one-bedroomed house. Well, I've just been looking at N-Power's websites, and it turns out that they're owned by a German company, RWE International, based in Cologne. And it just strikes me as rather odd that here we are in 2011. It wasn't that long ago, certainly after the war, we relied upon coal to supply our power. All right, it was dirty and smelly, and until we brought in smokeless fuel, it caused all kinds of problems with smog, which is when we have fog mixed with soot and smoke from coal fires. Well, everybody when I was a boy, almost everybody, had a coal fire. Either that or they had a gas fire. And you went into a house, and unless you sat within sort of 3 feet of the coal fire, at least in the houses which I frequented, your back was cold. Your front was roasting, but your back would be cold. That's how inefficient most houses were at distributing and keeping the heat in. And as usual, the Conservatives, particularly Mrs. Thatcher, decided to smash the coal industry. And we came to rely upon North Sea gas for our gas, to heat the houses with gas central heating, and to quite often provide gas for power stations. Well, they tell me it's cleaner. Well, I can't believe that with all the modern technology they can't make coal-fired power stations as clean as gas-fired power stations. All right, they may have to spend more money, but we've got 100 and odd years of coal underground, and we've got millions out of work and young people with no career prospects, many with degrees. Why don't we put these things to use? 100 years of coal down underneath the ground. Surely with modern machinery we can find a way to get it out instead of importing it from halfway around the planet. I mean, we've got ships bringing coal all the way from Australia, and yet we've got it underground. Does that make any kind of logical sense to you? Well, it doesn't surprise me that the Conservatives, the Tories as we call them, set out to ruin the coal mining industry, because they always do things on a short-term basis, usually for money, because most of the Conservatives are money people, and money speaks with them. And it doesn't surprise me that it was their doing that we got rid of the coal mine. All right, the coal miners under Mr. Scargill were a bit of a pain sometimes, and caused the government headaches. But the moment we decided to abandon coal, our own coal, underground, under our feet, we're walking on it all the time, we came to rely upon tankers loaded with gas coming all the way from the Middle East, liquid gas. I mean, they've got these huge plants out in places like Qatar, in the Middle East, in the Arab countries, huge plants turning gas, natural gas, into liquids by supercooling it. It's then shipped in special tankers all the way to places like Milford Haven in South Wales, where it's then reconverted back into a gas and put into the pipeline. And yet we've got this coal, which is a good source of supply of gas, underground. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I can't believe that we couldn't do it cheaper, because the world galloped to have things made in China, largely because the labour was so cheap. I mean, even high-tech telephone, mobile phones and cameras and stuff are made in China. They do a good job when they're guided by Western or Japanese companies. But slowly, I mean, the world is full now of container ships travelling all around the globe, loaded with containers. Sometimes these ships have up to 14,000 containers. Can you imagine the size of that ship? It beggars belief, doesn't it? 14,000 containers. You can hardly picture them in your mind. It would be such a big number. But their problem is, it takes 3 weeks to get from China, or longer, to the West. When one of those ships arrives in ports like Felixstowe, which is one of our biggest, which probably is the biggest container port, it unloads so many at once that the roads and railways can't handle it. If you think about it, what kind of madness is this? The economists are beginning to say that that doesn't pay anymore, partly because the Chinese are asking for higher wages, and partly because the cost of shipping all these containers, and they've got to keep building bigger boats to make them more and more efficient. If they don't carry 14,000 containers, or whatever, a huge number anyway, minimum 10,000, they're uneconomic. And yet we've got gas underground here. And we can make all our products here. I can't believe we can't do it for the same price. We seem to be chasing our own kind of tails economically. But the trouble is, the world is full of millions of amateur experts, especially where economics are concerned. I mean, the UK is full of Eurosceptic economists who are all dancing in the streets at the downfall of the euro as they foresee it. Well, it's our best hope, actually, because you look at the United States. How would the United States have been if the 50 states they have now all had their own currencies? Tell me. It would have been extremely difficult to produce manufactured goods, like refrigerators, for example, and sell them economically, if you had to deal with the ups and downs of 50 different currencies changing every day against each other, which is what we used to have in Europe. Now, don't think life is going to be a song and dance when we get rid of the euro. On the contrary, it will become much more difficult, and people like the banks will make a fortune dealing with the different currencies. Every time you change money into Deutschmarks or Greek drachma or whatever, you pay through the nose, which you do now. So I've waffled on. I've told N-Power that, and they've told me to ring back on Monday because of some problem. Once my current direct debit has gone through, on Monday they can readjust my January direct debit. So I have to ring them then, and I'm going to tell them I'm going back to coal. I'm not using gas anymore because their prices are too high. Ridiculous for a one-bedroom house. I'll manage with electricity for my electric shower, a fan heater for occasional very, very cold snaps, and a coal stove which I have downstairs. And I promise on Friday my coal is being delivered, and when I light the first fire I will make a little video of the first fire and I will put it on. So that's my thoughts on N-Power. On Monday the 30th of November. I've waffled on, forgive me, that's what happens when you get over 21 like me. I'm happy. I'm delighted to be alive. I thank God for every single day. You know, the gift of living, the gift of life, is something we should cherish every single moment. We don't know where we've come from when we come into this world, and we don't know where we're going when we leave it. But I can assure you that we were created by a creator, not by accident. If you think all this lot is an accident, then you should start praying to the God called accident, because that's who created you. But what I'm saying is, why is it of all the creatures on earth that we have this wonderful gift of life, but we seem determined, so many people, to deaden it, to shut it out? We go to the pub and we get a few drinks so that we can wander about, not having to care in the world. And people are making alcohol so that you can get K-Lide, as we used to call it, drunk. Over the door of most pubs it says we licensed to sell intoxicating liquors. And this is what happens with drugs. People have turned against the gift of life, and they want to forget their life in oblivion. Well, we've come a long way. God bless, while it's still legal in the UK to say God bless. Take care, and thumbs down for N-Power from Cologne in Germany. All the best. Bye for now.